The Newsday continues here in One News Now Business. I'm Diego Castro. Here are the biggest stories on the economic and corporate fronts. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas projects inflation to settle between 5.8 and 6.6% this month. The midpoint of the BSP's forecast is at 6.2%, lower than the 6.6% inflation print in April. The BSP said May inflation is primarily driven by higher prices of key food items, LPG and electricity rates. It added, though, that fuel rollbacks and lower poultry and fish prices could lead to lower inflation. The government's total outstanding debt climbed to 13.91 trillion pesos as of end of April. The Bureau of Treasury said the latest figure is 54 billion pesos higher from that of the previous month. Domestic debt amounted to 9.46 trillion pesos, or 68% of the total debt stock, while the remaining 32% came from external debt, which was at 4.45 trillion pesos. According to the Treasury Bureau, the government's debt increased due to the net issuance of external debt. It added that the local currency depreciation against the US dollar was also factored in. The Senate approved on third and final reading the controversial Maharlika Investment Fund bill past 2 a.m. today. This move comes just a week after President Marcos certified the measure as urgent. The proposal got 19 yes votes, 1 no vote, and 1 abstention. Opposition Senator Risa Hontiveros voted against the measure, while Senator Nancy Binay abstained. Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel was not present during the voting. The voting on Maharlika followed an 11-hour plenary session that saw senators scrambling to pass priority legislation of the Marcos administration before Congress adjourns this Friday. President Marcos hopes to banner the MIF during his second SONA set in July, where Congress is set to reconvene.
Ladies and gentlemen, at 2:32 a.m. in the morning, we have 19 affirmative votes, 1 negative vote, 1 abstention. Senate Bill number 2020 is approved on third reading. Congratulations.
During the period of amendments, majority of the senators agreed to explicitly ban investments in the Maharlika investment funds from government social welfare entities like the GSIS and SSS. Senator Gatchalian also sought to remove dividends from the Bangko Sentral as funding sources, but this amendment was rejected by Senator Mark Villar, noting that the move is a priority of the economic managers. The Senate, meanwhile, approved Hontiveros' proposal to disqualify any person from the MIF Board of Directors who, within 5 years before being appointed, has a pending administrative or judicial case relating to fraud, plunder, corruption, and similar crimes. The Senate version of Maharlika also imposes heavier penalties for anomalous activities concerning the fund. In moving to ban GSIS and SSS as investors to the Maharlika, Senator P. Cayetano says this move seeks to protect the funds of pension members. Senator Hontiveros said she is in favor of this particular amendment, but she maintained her no vote for the bill, which the minority has described earlier as rushed.
In as much as we truly hope that the fund will be successful, we would like to ensure that the pension funds and the aforementioned funds would not be touched, Your Honor, to at least preserve this, because we have had experiences in the past where the hard-earned money of our people were lost. So this is the amendment.
I associate myself with the last amendment proposed and accepted on excluding the social protection funds, GSIS, etc., from investing in the MIC.
Will you change your mind now on voting?
Just this manifestation, Mr. President.
Economic managers welcome the Senate's passage of the Maharlika bill. In a statement, Finance Secretary Ben Diokno commends the Senate leadership's prioritization of the proposed investment fund. Diokno says the Senate leadership, quote, pulled out all the stops to ensure that the bill reflects the Marcos administration's objective of creating a profitable and secure investment fund. Budget Secretary Amina Pangandaman, meanwhile, described the bill's passage as a great stride toward the country's long-term progress. She believes the measure will boost the government's efforts for economic growth. Jokno and Pangandaman were both present during the extended session in support of the bill's immediate passage, along with Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan, and BSP Governor Felipe Medalla. Pangandaman assures the public that the Senate's version of the MIF has a lot of safeguards against possible abuse. The Transportation Department has extended the contracts for the rehabilitation and maintenance of MRT-3. Secretary Jaime Bautista said the agency sealed the extended deals worth 7.38 billion pesos on Tuesday. This will enable Sumitomo Corporation to provide rehabilitation and maintenance to the line for the next 26 months. The services include technical support, maintenance, spare parts procurement, and provisions for other capacities. The supervision consultant contract with Oriental Consultants and Oriental Consultants Global has also been extended. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. Typhoon Betty maintains its strength as it accelerates northeastward over the sea east-northeast of Batanes. As of 11 a.m. today, the center of the eye of Typhoon Betty was estimated at 375 kilometers east-northeast of Itbayat, Batanes. It's packing winds of 120 kilometers per hour near the center, with gustiness of up to 150 kph. Pagasa's latest monitoring also shows that the typhoon is now moving northeastward at 10 kph. The typhoon is seen to gradually accelerate today through tomorrow while moving generally northward over the waters east of Batanes. Typhoon Betty is also forecast to steadily weaken for the next 5 days due to cooler ocean waters and dry air intrusion. At 11 a.m., Batanes still remains as the only province under signal number 2. Signal number 1, on the other hand, has been raised over the entire province of Apayao and Cagayan, including the Babuyan Islands, as well as the northeastern portion of Isabela. However, even as the typhoon slowly pulls away from the country, the southwest monsoon is expected to bring cloudy skies over most of Luzon and western Visayas.
Patuloy pa rin yung pag-iral ng southwest monsoon o hanging habagat mula dito sa southern Luzon, sa may Visayas at sa may Mindanao. Kaya nga ho ngayong araw ay inaasahan natin ng maulap na kalangitan, partikular na sa malaking bahagi ng Luzon, gayon din sa western Visayas. So kasama ho dyan yung mga iba't ibang area, kasama po yung sa Bicol Region, Mimaropa, Calabarzon, Central Luzon, at dito sa may bahagi ng Northern Luzon. Kahit dito sa Kamaynilaan, posibleng medyo maging maulap na or makakaranas tayo ng maulap na kalangitan.
The semiconductor and electronics industries in the Philippines, or SEIPI, keeps its 5% export growth target for 2023. SEIPI believes that it will be able to reach its target despite a drop in electronics exports in the first quarter. This as the electronics industry banks on strong recovery in demand amid the rise of new technologies like artificial intelligence and e-vehicles. SEIPI also says that while the ongoing conflict in Ukraine had affected on certain materials, it did not have a big impact on the electronics sector. The Securities and Exchange Commission is finalizing a regulation that will help raise funds for agricultural projects by selling securities through a simplified registration process. The regulation is expected to help small and medium enterprises raise up to 500 million pesos for farm projects. Based on the proposed draft circular earlier posted on SEC's website, agri-based firms may use SEC forms for simplified registration of their securities that are sold or offered for sale. The Commission also said the new initiative targets to reach overseas Filipinos who want to invest capital in agri-based businesses. The SEC hopes to launch the initiative next month. The government is now studying ways to further improve VAT efficiency or the collection of value-added tax in the country. Finance Secretary Ben Diokno says the tax system in the country has already seen improvements, as most taxes are now mainly taken from consumption rather than income. This means the amount of taxes collected are now largely based on spending rather than wealth. Despite this, Diokno says VAT collection efficiency remains to be a problem. Value-added taxes are those imposed by the government on certain products. Diokno noted that the Philippines has the lowest VAT efficiency among its association of Southeast Asian nations' neighbors, despite having the region's highest VAT rate at 12%. The finance chief blames this on VAT exemptions.
The various incentives and exemptions granted outside the Philippine tax code erodes the revenue base and requires the establishment of safeguards in tax administration to prevent abuse.
From 2016 to 2022, the country only collected some 723 billion pesos in VAT, 40% of the expected collection. If exemptions will be reduced, over 500 billion pesos in additional VAT could have been collected by the government. Diokno says the government has also tapped the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, to study how the country can further improve VAT collection.
Maybe find areas where we can recover yung mga too much exemptions. No? For example, one exemption talaga is the cooperatives. Yun, madami talagang hindi nagbabayad ng VAT because of the cooperatives. No?
Jensen Huang is the Taiwan-born electrical engineer who co-founded NVIDIA, the world's most valuable chip maker, on the verge of a $1 trillion market capitalization. Bloomberg QuickTake explains Huang's rise and NVIDIA's shift from gaming to AI.
Jensen Huang took 40 years to reach the pinnacle of the chip industry. Starting off his career at semiconductor pioneers LSI Logic and AMD, the electrical engineer, Taiwan-born, educated in the US, went on to co-found NVIDIA in 1993. Ever since then, the NVIDIA name has been synonymous with gaming, graphics cards, GPU, graphics processing units going into powerful gaming PCs. But in 2007, Huang and the rest of his team made a strategic decision which is paying off today. They decided to get into parallel processing of things other than pixels, and they developed an entire AI ecosystem around that. Most of the world's biggest automakers today use NVIDIA AI and chips in their cars. But the real big change for NVIDIA and Huang's big bet was ChatGPT. When that arrived late last year, it triggered a frenzy of AI investment and development. And the biggest beneficiary has been NVIDIA, because those 15 years of developing its chips turned it into the gold standard for AI training chips. Given a commencement speech recently in Taipei, in his native Taiwan, Huang advised the young graduating students to do like he did, to run after their goals.
You are at the beginning, at the starting line of AI. What will you create? Whatever it is, run after it like we did. Run. Don't walk.
And those are the top business stories of the hour. I'm Diego Castro. Join us again at 2 p.m. We are One News. All sides, all the time.